Right now, a vote for Newtown. Lawmakers in Washington taking sides and counting heads as a date is set for the first federal gun control vote since Sandy Hook. And the opposition works to block that vote. And next, Newtown families head to Washington doing what they can to press for greater gun safety. We'll ask a former congressman about the impact these kinds of personal pleas can really make. And later, it may still be early, very early, but the music has started playing for the 2016 dance to the White House. Tonight, we'll offer up a strategy session for the frontrunners and for the other candidates whose names aren't Hillary. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman, in tonight for Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us on this Tuesday evening, April 9th at 6 p.m. We want a vote. In the 117 days now since the massacre at Sandy Hook Elementary, that has been the rallying cry we've heard time and time again. We heard it from the parents of Newtown victims. We heard it from gun victims themselves. And of course, we've heard it from the man hoping to sign gun safety legislation into law.
They have to be our government and vote. Up or down, they have to vote.
We must do something. It will be hard, but the time is now. You must act.
Gabby Giffords deserves a vote. The families of Newtown deserve a vote. The families of Aurora deserve a vote.
And to try and make sure they get the vote they want, several Newtown families were in Washington today speaking with lawmakers, sharing personal stories, and pressing in support of those gun laws, or short of that, pressing for just the up and down vote that they so badly want. And today, word that they will get that vote, maybe. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid announcing he has scheduled a vote for this Thursday. It's on a bill calling for universal background checks. Not the full-throated gun control legislation many had been hoping for, but it is considered the gun bill most likely to get some measure of Republican support. Of course, any bill proposing any sort of gun control will generate opposition. And today, word from the office of Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell that he will stand with his members who want to filibuster the background check bill. That means the bill will need to get 60 votes on Thursday just to make sure it gets to the Senate floor for a full debate. That group of Republican senators, though, are in the minority both in the Senate and among Americans in general. New Q poll out today shows support for universal background checks now up to 91% among voters. And in gun-owning homes, that support remains rock solid. 88% of people in homes where someone owns a gun agreed that universal background checks make sense. But is that enough to break the coming filibuster? That's why Newtown families are in D.C. tonight. It's also why the president has been trying to turn voters against those who would block a vote.
They're not just saying they'll vote no on ideas that almost all Americans support. They're saying they'll do everything they can to even prevent any votes on these provisions.
And that push from the president and others may be working, as a number of well-known Republicans have broken with their colleagues and questioned the value of a filibuster, including names like John McCain.
I don't understand it. What are we afraid of? Why would we not want, if this issue is as important as all of us think it is, why not take it on the world's greatest deliberative? That's the greatest exaggeration in history, by the way. But you know, why not take it up, an amendment and debate? The American people will profit from it.
Also, Long Island's Peter King, who supports universal background checks.
And even if it doesn't go down the way I wanted to, I think the American people are entitled to a debate. And to me, to use Senate rules to block a debate on an issue of this importance is just wrong. It's not like something that's trying to be snuck through here. This is something that warrants a full and open debate. To stifle a debate, to cut it off, almost makes it as if these senators are afraid of something. So I don't know what they're afraid of. If they are so sure of their position, let it come to a debate.
And even ardent critics of background checks are opposing the coming filibuster. Oklahoma Senator Tom Coburn, who hates the idea of background checks, said today, quote, "The American people ought to see where everybody stands on this." Latest indications out of D.C., the vote to overcome the filibuster Thursday could be a close one. There are enough Senate Republicans now on record saying they'll oppose the filibuster that if Democrats can vote in one solid block, they should have the votes to overcome the filibuster. But Several red state Democrats remain on the fence, meaning a filibuster does remain a possibility. All right, let's get the take of tonight's panel on this. Joining us tonight, Evan Thies, founder of Brooklyn Strategies, a former aide to Andrew Cuomo and a former staffer for Hillary Clinton. And we're joined tonight by former Connecticut Congressman Chris Shays, a man who once had the title New England's last Republican member of Congress. He, of course, from Connecticut.
And there were none.
And then there were none. Thanks very much. First of all, gut feeling, do you think we'll get a vote on universal background checks, or do you think the filibuster is going to hold?
Yes, no, I do.
Absolutely. There will be a vote, and it would be an outrage if there isn't. There should be a debate, and there should be a vote, and then members should just vote their conscience.
If the Republicans go ahead and manage to pull off a filibuster, either on this, and there will be other votes on other gun-related issues as amendments that are offered, but does that, we saw the numbers today, 91% say they want background checks. Is there a risk to the reputation of the party if they hold tight to a filibuster?
Well, you got the political pro there, but my sense is anytime you have more than 75%, that's a home run. If just 25% are in the minority, in this case less than 10%, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah, and the congressman and I were talking about this earlier. This seems more like a ploy to make donors happy by the people threatening to filibuster, or to make a very small but powerful segment of the lobbyist community happy than anything else. I think they know they're going to lose the filibuster through cloture vote, and this is just an attempt to do that. And that's just disturbing that that's happening in Congress right now.
I mean, there is some potential wiggle room, as I was saying. If Democrats don't vote in bloc on Thursday.
Yeah, but the Republicans will be blamed. They will be blamed for not having the courage to have a vote. They'll be blamed for cutting off debate. I mean, he used to want to be a senator so he could debate issues and have a vote. That's what it used to be in that chamber.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I mean, they should be blamed. Look, if Mitch McConnell wasn't running this crew, then we could say, okay, those are just extremists and forget about it, but he's their leader, and that is troubling. And there are two issues here, right? Before we even get to guns, we're really talking about good government, and we need to stop this ridiculousness with filibusters. Democrats have done it, Republicans have done it. Maybe people will finally start paying more attention when these idiotic things happen and get rid of the filibuster rule.
We talked a little bit about the potential difficulties for the GOP if the filibuster holds. What about for the White House, Evan? The White House has put a lot of political capital into this. We always hear about presidents not wanting to be on the wrong side of an issue or seen taking a loss. If they can't get a vote on background checks, or if it fails, let's say in the House, is this damaging to the Obama White House?
No, I think this is actually getting them out of Dodge a little bit. The Obama White House watered down the gun control legislation. They should have gone stronger. They should have pushed for assault weapons ban to be part of the package, among other things. They didn't. What we got was an okay bill of obvious measures that should have been passed long ago, and now you've got these extremists on the Republican side making themselves the bad guys for the White House. Now Obama gets to win, and he gets to avoid the debate about how he watered down the legislation in the first place. I think it's great for the White House.
Though the approach of, you know, take what you can get if you're the White House, any small step, and they'll declare victory on all this.
Well, this isn't a small step. A background check, I think, is more significant than the ban on assault weapons, because you have weapons that have the same firepower as an assault weapon that won't be banned. This is substantive, meaningful, and logical.
You know, you've had some experience as a Republican congressman who's had to make difficult votes before. Do you think there are some Republicans in Congress who are secretly hoping that either the filibuster happens so that, you know, it takes the pressure off them to actually have to cast a vote and go on record with this? No,
I mean, they'll be judged on the filibuster as if that was the vote on the ban. And in the House, they'll still have a vote. But I can tell you, the general view is that controversy is the enemy of the incumbent. So members sometimes don't like controversial things because you make friends, but you make enemies.
And from your read on things in the House, even if background checks gets through the Senate, do you think it's got a chance of passage in the House?
I think the background check does. The assault weapon ban, I was the point person in the House in '93. In other words, I controlled the debate on the Republican side for the assault weapon ban. And I can tell you, even members who wanted to support it, who were west of the Mississippi River, they really they kind of almost like shook with the thought that they had to vote. And they knew that if they voted for the assault weapon ban, it would be very costly. 19 Democrats lost elections in the '94 race who were solid never had a tough race. They lost because they voted for the assault weapon ban.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it's absolutely right. And there are Democrats now in tough House seats that they're looking at in 2014 who don't want to vote on a stricter bill. And I'm sure that the White House knows they have to bail them out too. I mean, the White House thinks they have a legitimate shot at the House in 2 years. That's going to be very tough. But at the very least, they want to hold firm. And if they're going to do that, they're going to have to avoid some tough votes. This is definitely one of them. And they've played this card before. They did it with Rahm Emanuel years back, and that's how they got the House. And they've done it at the beginning of the Obama administration. And when he was running for president, they avoided this issue specifically for this reason.
I'm curious, Congressman, you've got the NRA and other gun advocacy groups pulling on one end for Republicans in the House or in the Senate as well. And you've got that 91% that we saw in the poll on background checks pulling in the opposite direction. If you were an incumbent, if you were sitting in Congress right now with those two competing forces against you, how do you know?
I would tell the member to vote their conscience, because they got to live with the vote the rest of their life, and it will be both a cost and a benefit to them.
Do most lawmakers vote their conscience on an issue like this?
On an issue like this, yeah, they want to.
All right. Quick
Because
reminder.
they got to live with the vote.
Quick reminder to you at home, this is the subject of our online poll for tonight. We've been sharing some of your responses at the bottom of the screen. We'll continue to do so. Here's the question again. Who will you blame if Congress fails to pass universal background checks? Is it the White House for not doing enough, the GOP for blocking it, the NRA for doing what the NRA does? Find us on Facebook or on Twitter and join the debate. We're going to take a quick break here on RFL, and we'll have more on the gun debate on the other side. Up next, Newtown parents in Washington on 60 Minutes right in the middle of this gun debate. We're going to ask Congressman Shays how personal pleas like theirs impact the votes the lawmakers cast. We're also going to get into this right-wing slippery slope argument. The background checks are just the first step to the government coming to take your guns away. That and more when we return.